The night was moonless, perfect flying weather for a mission designed to slip through the edges of detection. High above the darkened landscape, a formation of Ukrainian long-range drones drifted forward with the steady, deliberate movement of migrating birds. Their engines emitted only a faint electric hum, barely audible even at close range. The land beneath them stretched endlessly, black forests cut by silver threads of rivers, abandoned farmhouses, and lonely rural roads illuminated only by the occasional passing truck. Inside a dim, bunker-like operations room miles away, 5 drone operators sat shoulder to shoulder, their eyes fixed on glowing monitors. The space was quiet except for the soft clicking of keyboards and the rhythmic beeping of telemetry data. Maps updated in real time, showing each drone's speed, altitude, and the shifting outlines of Russian air defense zones. A red digital clock hovered on the wall above them, marking every passing second with unnerving precision. Serhiy, the mission lead, leaned forward, elbows pressed into the metal table. He had been on countless operations before, but the tension never really faded. Tonight's target, a major Russian oil depot, was heavily defended, and success depended on every drone, following its assigned route with near-perfect accuracy. "Maintain altitude profile," he reminded the team quietly, though no one needed the warning. The stakes were obvious to all. One operator, a young woman named Oksana, adjusted her headset. Her drone's onboard camera displayed the horizon ahead, a faint glow from distant industrial lights just barely visible through the haze. "Visual on-target range begins in 2 minutes," she reported. Her tone controlled but tight. She zoomed in, confirming the depot's position relative to nearby anti-aircraft radars. Outside the control center, the wind howled along the concrete walls, but inside, the atmosphere felt almost unnaturally still. Every operator held their breath as the drones crossed the threshold into contested airspace. A single warning light flickered on Serhiy's screen, an enemy radar sweep, brushing the formation, but the drones' low signatures kept them hidden, ghosts against the night. "Final approach underway," Serhiy whispered, more to himself than to the team. The drones dipped slightly, aligning into their attack pattern. For a moment, the only sound in the room was the collective heartbeat of those watching their machines slice through the darkness. The mission was in motion. There was no turning back. The drones descended like shadows, peeling away from the night. Their onboard systems synced with a soft chime in the operators' headsets, confirming they had entered the attack corridor. The Russian oil depot filled the drone cameras. View rows of cylindrical storage tanks arranged in neat utilitarian lines, each one glowing faintly under harsh industrial floodlights. Trucks were parked near the loading stations, their engines dormant, unaware of the silent visitors approaching from above. Serhiy focused on the telemetry readouts, his brows furrowed. "Hold formation! Wait for the marker." His fingers hovered over the command interface. Poised yet steady, the operators exchanged quick, wordless glances. They knew the moment. The drones broke silence and activated their targeting systems. The Russian air defenses would light up like a storm. Oksana's voice cut through the quiet. Marker reached. Arming sequence initiated. A soft click echoed from her console as her drone transitioned into strike mode. The screen brightened, outlining the depot's critical points: fuel tanks, pumping stations, backup power generators. She guided her drone lower, matching its trajectory to the mission's pre-planned strike path. The first detonation came without warning, a sharp white flash that illuminated the entire compound. The drone's high-speed camera captured the moment the nearest fuel tank erupted into a column of sparks. An alarm klaxon began wailing through the depot, echoing across the industrial yard. Workers scattered in every direction, some diving behind vehicles, others sprinting toward emergency shelters. 2 more drones swooped in, following the lead of the first. Their payloads struck seconds apart. Another tank ruptured, sending a shockwave of heat and debris across the depot. The flames expanded rapidly, licking upward as if the night itself had ignited. From above, the drones relayed every frame back to the operations room, where the operators watched with a mixture of focused detachment and restrained adrenaline. Russian air defense systems reacted at last. Searchlights swung upward, scanning erratically. Automated guns rattled to life, firing bursts into the dark sky. But the drones were already climbing, their missions complete. One was clipped by a stray round and spiraled, sending its camera feed into static, but the others broke away cleanly, fading into the night. Back in the control room, Seri exhaled slowly. Primary objectives achieved. Begin extraction routes. The operators leaned back in their chairs, relief flickering through their exhaustion. The strike was over, at least from their end. What would unfold next was beyond their control.
For several minutes after the drones retreated, the depot burned in a controlled, predictable pattern, exactly what the Ukrainian analysts expected. Thick black smoke billowed upward, swirling into the night. Sky's fire crew stationed on site scrambled to contain the blaze. Their hoses arced jets of water and foam toward the damaged tanks, trying to prevent the flames from spreading deeper into the facility. Then something changed. A tremor rolled through the depot, a low, muffled rumble that vibrated through the operators' headsets as the drone cameras, still lingering at a distance, captured the scene. At first, the teams back in Ukraine assumed it was simply another small explosion, a routine outcome when fuel tanks caught fire. But the rumble didn't fade, it grew. "Hold on," Oksana whispered, leaning forward. "What is that?" The heat bloom on her monitor widened unnaturally fast. A moment later, the second explosion tore through the center of the depot. This one wasn't triggered by the drones. It came from deep within the storage grid, where older and far less stable fuel reserves were kept. The eruption threw a massive ring of sparks and debris skyward, knocking nearby equipment off its foundations. Firefighters were forced to retreat instantly, abandoning hoses and vehicles as the inferno roared out of control. In the Ukrainian operations room, the team stared silently as the fire leapt from tank to tank. "That wasn't us," Serhiy said, voice low, though everyone already understood. The chain reaction was moving unpredictably, feeding on volatile pockets of fuel that had apparently gone unnoticed by Russian personnel. Emergency sirens in the surrounding district began wailing. Drone telemetry picked up frantic radio chatter, evacuation orders for workers, alerts to nearby residential blocks, and calls for reinforcements from regional disaster response units. Russian military trucks poured into the area, their headlights cutting jagged paths through the smoke. But even with the sudden influx of manpower, it was clear the situation was escalating faster than anyone on site could manage. The analysts exchanged uneasy looks. The mission had been intended to disable the depot, not create a cascading disaster that threatened the entire facility. "We planned for a strike," one operator murmured, "not a meltdown." A third, smaller explosion flickered in the distance. The camera feed shook briefly before stabilizing. The depot was transforming into a zone of chaos, one growing beyond the scope of any mission plan. And for the first time that night, the operators felt uncertainty creep into the room. The strike had succeeded, but the aftermath was taking on a life of its own.
The fire at the Russian oil depot raged long into the night, its glow visible from miles away. By dawn, satellite images had already circulated among intelligence agencies and major news outlets, showing the enormous plume of smoke stretching across the region like a dark scar. Before official statements were even drafted, international journalists had begun broadcasting live segments, their voices filled with a mix of urgency and caution. In European capitals, government spokespersons stepped before cameras, urging calm and restraint. Some officials expressed concern about escalating hostilities, while others quietly acknowledged that the depot had long served as a logistical lifeline for Russia's military operations. Across social media, analysts, commentators, and ordinary citizens debated the implications, each trying to interpret what the night's events meant for the broader conflict. The story spread rapidly. Breaking news banners flashed across television screens. Major explosion at Russian oil facility. Unconfirmed drone strike escalates fire. Evacuations underway near depot. Politicians were pressed for answers. They didn't yet have Markets reacted nervously, oil prices ticked upward, and investors braced for potential instability. Inside the Ukrainian operations room, the drone team watched the global reaction unfold in real time. The once tense atmosphere had shifted into something more reflective, even somber. They had trained for missions, not headlines. The operators sat in their chairs, exhausted from hours of focus, but their eyes remained fixed on the screens where news anchors discussed their work without knowing their names or faces. Seri closed his laptop slowly. "The world's awake now," he muttered. Not all of it would be supportive. Some countries would condemn the attack. Others would call for de-escalation. And a few would quietly praise the strategic blow. But none of that changed the reality that the situation had spiraled beyond the mission's original scope. Oksana folded her arms, watching footage of firefighters battling the still-spreading blaze. Authorities had expanded the evacuation radius, moving families out of vulnerable neighborhoods. "They're dealing with something we didn't intend," she said softly. The others nodded. The chain reaction at the depot had turned the strike into an event bigger than any of them anticipated. Journalists speculated about what might come next: retaliatory strikes, political negotiations, tighter international sanctions. The future felt uncertain, unpredictable, balanced on a razor's edge. As morning light filtered into the operations room, the drone team sat in a rare moment of stillness. Their mission was complete, yet its consequences were just beginning to unfold beyond their reach.